Obama is not going to like this. Just 29% of American voters think the United States is headed in the right direction. Only 29%. Now, that's according to the latest Rasmussen poll. And Charles Krauthammer, author of the very, very, very best-selling Things That Matter, joins us. Nice to see you, Charles.
Good to be here. Thank you.
29%. That's all that think the United States is going in the right direction.
What's interesting is that is significantly lower. I think it was in the mid-30s a few months ago. And it can't be the economy, because it's either been, you could say, stable or slightly improving, which is what generally is reflected in the wrong numbers, in the wrong track statistic. So what it means is this is a reaction, I think, to what's happening overseas. Now, generally in our elections, what happens overseas is relatively unimportant. There have been some exceptions, but this could be, and I think it will be, an election with the most emphasis on what's happening abroad in foreign affairs in at least a decade, and perhaps only the second or the third in 30 years where it was a major issue. And that, I think, is what people lose sight of. You know, it's not that it's a specific issue, the terms of the Iran treaty, or people are following the details, the borders of this Ukrainian salient that the Russians have created, or they're going to cry over Crimea. But they have a sense that America's in retreat. America has lost status. America has lost respect. Our allies are suspicious of us and don't trust us, and our adversaries are laughing at us. That is something Americans don't like, and whichever Republican can seize upon that, I think, is going to have a real advantage.
Well, I think also the fact that, I mean, which takes off from that is that you've got Al-Qaeda, which reconstitutes itself as ISIS, and now is spreading all over the world and marrying with Boko Haram, and people are joining it from the U.S. I think that's bad. But I also think that the president's greatest weapon, political weapon, was his ability to inspire. And I think that number, like, if he can make you feel good, they're going in the right direction. But he sort of has lost, you know, I don't see him out there drawing big crowds and making everyone feel like, yes, we can. It's more like, you know, no, we can't, we're not going to. And I think that's the problem. It's like you don't have that sort of personal sense of enthusiasm.
Look, 6 years in, yes, we can, it rings a little hollow when it turned out that he couldn't. And he can make all the speeches he wants. He can dismiss ISIS as the JV team, which he did a year ago. But, you know, after a time, you run up against reality. You can't deny reality. He tries to pretend, and he said this, his staff, his people are saying this, you know, we've got the upper hand in the war on terror, the war is receding, we're in an era where we're better off. Everyone knows that's not true. So I think it makes it worse. This is a guy whose entire career, his rise, his success as a candidate was to inspire with rhetoric and to promise. And then as there's a disconnect between his rhetoric and reality, I think it works against him. He's out to lunch. People have this sense he either doesn't understand or he's in denial, neither of which is very good.
We have 30 seconds left or a minute left, but I don't have the sense that that he's still in there fighting. You know, it's like I think like he's sort of given up. He won't talk to the Senate about this, about the Iran business. He says he's going to go alone. It's sort of like he's sort of given up. He's just, you know, he's locked all the doors at the White House.
I think he's given up on advancing U.S. interests abroad, or he has a conception of it, which is extremely odd. But he's still in the retreat and withdrawal mode that he came into office with. He is determined to do stuff on domestic issues, you know, to get control, to regulate the internet, to promulgate, you know, an immigration amnesty, which is obviously illegal. He said so at least a dozen times. He wants to regulate. He wants to do stuff on climate change, which he can do unilaterally. He will overstep his authority. He's got an agenda, but it's a domestic agenda. It's a liberal, it's a left-wing agenda, and that's his legacy. But what happens abroad, I think he's checked out.
Charles, thank you.
Pleasure.
And if you're one of the 800,000